and thank you for joining us. I'm Kristi Porter of Vector Global Logistics, and you are listening to or watching Logistics with Purpose. And spoiler alert, we're going to have another amazing episode in store for you. So I am delighted to introduce Chris Chancey, CEO and founder of Amplio Recruiting, and Harris Amani, who is in the transition to a new job at Accenture here in Atlanta. So Chris, Harris, welcome to the show, and thank you for being here.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So first of all, yes. First of all, we're going to hear a little bit about your background, and then we're going to get into Amplio and what you guys are doing now and kind of the larger mission you're both serving at the moment. But first, let's hear a little bit about your background, which for some reason is usually the harder questions for people to answer. So Chris, tell us a little bit about your childhood and where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in South Georgia, and so small town. Friday nights are about football, and when I look back, I just think about a great town to grow up in. But for the most part, everyone thought the same way, everyone spoke the same way, kind of believed the same things. Generally, there was a uniformity for the most part of the way that people believed and thought and acted. And so I never thought I'd be in a position, fast forward several years, to be a part of community where that's not the case. And so I think that has always been really fascinating part of this journey, is because it wasn't something that I saw or had a perspective on at an early age. But grateful for growing up in a town where faith was really important, football and family, those are kind of the core, essentials. And, a lot of that gets reflected in the community that we serve now. And so it's fun to see those similarities, even though there's a lot of differences.
Yeah, for sure. It sounds like we were on parallel tracks, except I was in a small town in West Texas. You were in a small town in South Georgia. But yes, family, faith, and football is pretty much what sums up a lot of my background as well. So I can relate. What about you, Harris? What was your childhood like?
Actually, my childhood, I grew up in Afghanistan. Actually, my childhood, or to be honest, my childhood, I grew up running around. Mm. The reason I'm saying I'm running around, because when I was 7 years old, so the civil war started in Afghanistan, and after the civil war, then the internal war with the local leaders in the country started. Everybody were fighting for the power. So we were running around. For example, we were running from Kabul, the capital, to the Logar, to my province, to be safe. And then when the fight started from there, then finally we ended up become a refugee in Pakistan for a couple of years. So the reason that my dad, my late dad, he wanted that anything happened to the world, he didn't want their children to be uneducated in this country, because on that time the education system, the schools, the college, everything was like totally destroyed. And my mom, she is a doctor, and my father, he was a first PhD holder in economics in Afghanistan. So he wanted us to move out from the country, not due to the save our lives, it's also due to the our education, because he always said that a person without education is already a dead person. So he always said that. And for us, our the way we learn English at the beginning, we never went to any tuition classes or anything. My mom and my dad, they were our English teachers. We have the books, and any questions we had, we just asked them. I said, what the meaning of this question? And even we didn't have to open the dictionary to just search for the meaning and the meaning of a word and where we can use it, till we moved to the Pakistan. Then when we moved to the Pakistan, I was in third grade when we moved to Pakistan, when the war started. So till 12th grade, I was in Pakistan. Then I joined Then I joined the English tuition classes, and at age of 11, I graduated from them. I age of 11, I graduated from the English tuition classes, and again, then I rejoined again. Then again, I graduated again in 2003. So then after that, when the Civil War finished in 20 plus years ago, when there is a suitable government and when the US came to the Afghanistan, so we moved back to Afghanistan.
Okay.
And at the same time, when I was in Pakistan, actually, I was at age of 9 when I was playing volleyball. And because with the adults all the time when I was going in a match, they will say that he's a kid. If he's going to be hit with a ball, it's not good for safety wise. But somehow they let me allow to play with them. So we ended up back going to Afghanistan. And when I went to Afghanistan, then I start. My father become the actually the I can say the voice. I can say the deputy vice president for the Ministry of Information and Technology. So there was a university which has been controlled by that ministry, and I joined. And my father asked all our brothers, because we are 5 brothers,
Okay.
2 older than me and 2 younger than me. I am the middle one. So they said, I need one of you guys to be graduated from telecommunication engineering university. Everybody said no, but I was the one that pushed to that university, and I graduated from that university after 4 years. And at the same time, uh, my father resigned from the government, and he joined a USAID project from the US government. So then I was with him one time in a gathering. Then I went from another company. They asked, talking to my dad, and he said, who's this young guy? My dad says, he's my son. He said, can he speak English? He said, yeah, he can speak English very well. Then I start talking with the CEO of that company. That's a very funny story. So it is very interesting. So I hope I didn't take you guys time.
That's fantastic. Sounds like
So
you come from a very smart family.
yeah, so then when I was start talking to him, and the CEO of that company said to my dad, I really need this guy. I said, he's just 18, 17. He said, just he fixed his own schedule, set up, and I will fit him in a schedule that should be, he feel comfortable with education and also work. Then he hired me as a VIP interpreter for himself. So my job was, when a VIP guest from the US, especially from Washington, DC,
Sure.
they were visiting Afghanistan, my job was to go with them with the different ministries to meet with the ministers, or just for the rehabilitation of Afghanistan. So my job was to translate for them. So step by step, then when I was get a little experience of how the business works and everything, they offered me to be the logistics manager. I'm a logistics assistant and a store in charge. Then I become the logistic assistant and store in charge. Then I start building my career there.
Wow.
So then I start building my career there. So I learned, I studied, then step by step, I was promoted to the different positions in logistics. And at the same time, it was a little bit harder to me, because I was selected for the Afghan national volleyball team under 19. So I went out of the country a couple of times to play for my country. Then when I turned 20, then I joined the national team, and I played for the national team for 5 till I moved to the US and I quit.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm a national volleyball player.
That is incredible.
Yeah. So after that, from that position,
Harris, I had no idea that you played volleyball. Why have we not played volleyball yet?
trust me, do you know, when we were start playing volleyball, I was playing for the national team, and at the same time, I had my own team from my cousins that they are 14 and 16 and 17. And you won't believe me that all those teenagers that I coach and train them, all of them joined the national team. That much.
Wow.
perfect. Yeah.
So
And
is it genetics or good coaching?
Seriously.
actually, good coaching, to be honest with you. It's because that
So humble.
being in Afghanistan, Chris, and my income was like $800 per month was my salary. And I was using that 400, I will give it to the family, and 400, I was using it for the team,
Wow.
for their clothes, energy, ground, and everything which is necessary. And then, and 5 tournaments back to back, even I beat the national.
Wow. So
Wow.
how big, I don't associate volleyball with Afghanistan. So how big a sport is volleyball there?
Actually, in Afghanistan, there is a couple of sports which is very popular.
Okay.
It's a soccer,
Uh-huh.
a wrestling,
Wrestling.
uh,
Okay.
yeah, boxing,
Okay.
volleyball, and in these days they like it. They just familiar with the cricket as well. The cricket, they play cricket,
Yeah.
and also now they like the free fight,
Wow.
MMA. Now they have good MMA clubs that they are. I think some of them are joining the MMA clubs here in the US. They have good fighters.
That's fascinating. Yeah, we're in the midst of a celebrity here. I didn't realize this.
I
Chris.
I am not.
It's really yeah, it's so interesting. So let me ask you, like, now we're hitting your kind of, you've already done so much and you're like 20 at this stage. So let me stop you for a second there. Let me switch back to Chris, and I want to hear some more about that as well. But Chris, let's talk a little bit about you talked about just being in a very homogenous really environment growing up. So now you're doing something completely different, like you said, something you would have never seen yourself doing. So now that you're kind of trying to kind of tie those together, is there something that happened in your early years or a story that kind of now looking back has shaped who you are and what you're doing now?
Yeah, I think I look back on recognizing that there is so much different culture. There's so much different um, different backgrounds that people come from that just create such rich texture and tapestry to the community that we're a part of now. And in some ways, kind of sad that I think sometimes we miss out on that because it's natural for us to be afraid of things that are different. And so even when we stepped into the community that we're a part of now, it's called Clarkston. It's the most diverse square mile in the U.S. and it's right outside of Atlanta and kind of tucked in a way that you drive past it and you would never know it was there necessarily unless you stop and take notice. But as we began to engage people there, we just realized the beauty of multiple cultures bringing their very best to the table, and how it can impact the world around them and add so much value. So I don't have a specific story as much from being being a child and how it's kind of affected us, but I always remember the idea of caring for the sojourner or reaching out and being kind and trying to help those who we would say were less fortunate. Mm-hmm. I think as we moved into this community, what we expected to find were people who were less fortunate or people who were struggling in some capacity. The reality is we found a lot of people who were hungry to add value, to contribute to their local economy, to be a part of an ongoing kind of solution and bringing their culture to bear and bringing their experience and knowledge to bear on local companies and in the community in really positive, impactful ways. And so it kind of it was unexpected, but also such an incredible blessing to our life to be a part of that story.
Yeah, for sure. Harris, what about you? It sounds like there's a lot to draw from on your past, from the emphasis the education played in your life, from your parents to translating to volleyball to all of those things. Is there a story kind of from your early years that really shaped the person you are today?
Actually, to be honest with you, that especially growing up in a country like the people like just running around for their life.
Mhm.
Actually, to be honest with you, moving the US government in Afghanistan, that gave us a good shape. That
Okay.
gave us the power to speak up. That was the time that people start value the education. I
Mm.
mean, not the power, not the money. The people was start respecting the people who are educated. So I can say that after the US moved in and the people recognized that at the end of the day, war, power, guns, and criminal activities are not something that it will take you to higher levels. The education is something um, that that you need if you go anywhere, because there was a couple of times it happened, Kristi, that I was go because based on my job, as I said, that working for that company and has start as a VIP interpreter, and you won't believe that I resigned from that company as a CEO. I was the CEO and country director of that company.
Wow.
Yeah, I resigned when I moved to the US. So I resigned and they offered me to work for that company over here in Washington State, Washington, DC.
Mhm.
But there was some terms and conditions, and there was some like I was not feeling comfortable with the few things that they said, and then I refused to join. So with that being said, so as Chris mentioned before, actually there is a lot of good educated people.
Mhm.
They just need the right path.
Sure.
And because when I moved to the US, everybody was saying that Harris, there is there is no shame in any job. All work is work. As long as you work, that's everything. Work is work. It doesn't mean you're a president, you are a labor, you are anything. Work is work. They were telling me that okay, let's join we are working in this restaurant, come join us inside the kitchen or be a cashier, or just we are cleaning plates and everything. And I said that uh, uh, I'm a fighter. I get anything I want in my life. I will not give up that much soon. So like right now I'm attending this meeting with you guys. I was a volunteer speaker for IRC, one of the resettlement agencies here. I was one of the speakers. And trust me, when I was in one of the conferences, that live conference, like thousands of people sitting there. When I entered, to be honest with you, I was like nervous how I'm going to speak. But I said, okay, we will, because everybody from other countries like Syria, Pakistan, or another countries, they have their translators with them, with their representatives, but I was by my own. And only my wife was sitting straight in front of me. So you will be shocked that 18% of the questions on that conference has been asked from me.
Mm.
And trust me, when I finished that, I felt like a big stone stick in top of my heart, because I take out everything which I knew it about, everything about how we are going to help the new immigrants. So I got my first job from that conference, because somebody came to me and asked me, are you working? I said, no. And he said, do you mind if you can give me your resume, and I will going to give it to someone. And my first job here in the United States, I got, and I was a shipping and receiving manager. And they were not an existing position on that company. They created that position for me to join.
Wow.
Then after I joined that company, definitely I work hard. I increased their receiving department by $250,000 in a day, and I increased their shipping by $300,000 in a day. Well, but I worked for that company for 2 years. Then I see there is not more. Then I see there's a lot more opportunities around. So I start looking around. Then I got this pharmaceutical position, and I got this through. I just that was an online. I submit the online application, and you won't believe me that they put the offer letter in front of me at the first day of interview, and I
I
signed.
can believe it. I can believe it from everything you've said. I absolutely can. Yeah, that's an incredible story. And so, yeah, so many layers to that. Let's circle back to that in a minute, and then we'll also pick up after your pro volleyball tour. So, Chris, let's talk about pre-Amplio. What were you doing before Amplio Recruiting?
Yeah, let's see. Before Amplio, I went to grad school. I started working for Chick-fil-A, and for a few years got to work at one specific restaurant as a general manager, and then did some consulting. My wife was doing grand openings with them, and so we got a really good experience of what it's like to lead a team and make a lot of mistakes on Chick-fil-A's dime in terms of business and
a lot of free chicken. Yeah.
Exactly. And then we worked for a faith-based microfinance organization called Hope International. And so they do microfinance around the globe. And it was kind of this intersection of helping people, having social impact, but providing a physical, both a felt need and kind of, other needs that surround that. So really focusing on how do we support people physically, right, and help them move in a positive direction. And so that was really formative, and kind of learning from both the business and social impact kind of tandem there. Yeah. And so when we moved into Clarkston, we still had that in the forefront of our mind of like, is there a way we could engage this community with a business, not necessarily a nonprofit, but a business that could create social impact in this area. And so through a lot of conversations and questions and just learning from people and sitting in their homes and as often as they would let us, sitting around their dinner table when they would cook for us and just enjoying company, but also learning as much as we could, we just came to this conclusion that jobs were the number one desire, and really stability is the number one desire, but jobs and employment play such a critical role in that. Yeah. And so we expected people, based on my background, news that I watched, I expected people to fall into one of two categories. Either they were going to be a charity case, and they would be people who have experienced a lot of trauma, and so they deserve to live out their days in the U.S., being supported by our tax dollars, kind of kick up their feet and live in safety and not have to worry about, terrorism or the things that force them to flee. Or they would be a terrorist threat. They would be people who have, dangerous intentions of getting into the U.S. in some way, and we have to be very careful and watch them closely. So that's what my background and kind of media told me to expect.
And how did you hear about Clarkston in the first place?
It was really by accident. We didn't move into the community on purpose. We were trying to find a home we could afford on a certain side of town that we could be close to family, and ended up, stumbling on Clarkston. And I think I told my wife, it looks like there might be some good ethnic food here. I mean, we had no idea, what this community was all about. But in moving in and meeting people, we realized these individuals are not a charity case. They're not a terrorist threat. They're the people who are trying to escape terrorism. They're actually a workforce. They're actually people who want to add value. They want to contribute. They want to find employment. They want to be a part of, something beautiful for their local economy. And that's what really triggered, like, okay, can we build a business around that mentality and that opportunity? Absolutely. So what does that look like? And that's kind of what led us down this road.
And so I don't know if you want to you've mentioned Clarkston, which is a beautiful little place. If anybody gets the chance to go there that hasn't been there yet, go to Refuge Coffee, my friend's coffee shop. I'll plug that. But they, I don't know if you want to give any more background. It's a really interesting place from a lot of different levels. So I don't know if you want to explain anything else about Clarkston.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really unique place. There's a documentary that just came out that you can find in a few different areas where you find documentaries that kind of tells the story of, a community that back in the 60s and 70s, and even really into the 80s and 90s, there was a lot of friction around refugees moving in. And for whatever reason, this was just the community that was determined by the state as an appropriate place to resettle refugees who at the time were coming from Southeast Asia. And so really it was because of there was some decent public transportation to kind of get to different parts of the city. There was an abundance of multifamily housing, and there was a manufacturing kind of at the time, sort of an industrial part of town there where there were some jobs available. So it made a lot of sense at the time. And other communities around the US that have similar populations of refugees kind of outgrew the areas they were in, and sort of became fragmented around the metro. For whatever reason, in Atlanta, Clarkston's just continued to be that hub. So now for 50, 60 years, it's been the place where wave upon wave of immigrants have been resettled. So Southeast Asia, from people from Vietnam and other parts of Southeast Asia, then became people coming from Africa, from all over East Africa, West Africa, Central Africa. And then that gave way to individuals from the Middle East. So Iraq, Iran, certainly from Syria when that crisis hit a few years back. And then most recently, the Afghan community. And so it's a really unique place. There's a lot of people walking in their native garb, and not as many vehicles or cars on the road as you would expect. And then the most traveled bike route in the state of Georgia cuts right through the city. So it's just on a daily basis, there's just a unique mix of community and people that are interacting there. And we're growing and excited about new opportunities that are coming to our side of town.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I just want to add one more. I miss that community as well, because when I moved to the US in Feb 2017, I moved to the Clarkston areas. I start my life from Clarkston area, and I just I can say 8 months ago, I got my own house, and I moved out from there 8 months ago. To be honest with you, I like that community, and because of my 3 kids, because I need a good schools with good ratings, that's why I moved them over to a different Gwinnett area. Otherwise, I never ever leave that area. Right? For example, if I want some bread from my country or something from my country, right now I need to travel for 40 minutes to Clarkston area to buy the stuff and drive back 40 minutes back to my house. And when I was there, that was in 5 minutes distance anywhere, anything I needed. And to be honest with you, I miss the area. Yeah, I miss that area. Actually, has Mr. Chris added, actually, I can say 90 to 95% of the refugees who came to Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, they start from their life from Clarkston. And I can say 90 to 95%. And because especially in these days, Chris knows my wife as well. Her name is Shaista Amani, and she's working with a nonprofit organization. So the help which we got during our transition here in United States, and she took all those experiences, and also she took all those struggles that we had on that time. Now she's using all those, her background and our background experiences. Now she is representing like plus 200 families on the area. Yeah, that she always in touch with them if they need anything, if they like. Definitely, we are, especially me, I'm really appreciate Chris' help, especially with this new job which I got this job through Chris. And he introduced me to Accenture that you guys are looking for a supply chain and operation consultant, so he is the right person. He introduced it to me. Then definitely there was Chris, I don't know you know that, but there was plus 11 interviews from me.
Wow.
Yeah, plus 11 interviews from me. And
It's because you have a lot to say.
yeah, no, actually, sometime when I was sitting in interview, if you guys had a lot of thing about your background and what you can do, so the expectation of the employer is getting more higher from you, and they keep discuss it with their upper level. This guy can do this, that. Then definitely, okay, I want the interview. He wants an interview. So that's why it's keep happening. But the only thing which is it take a little time because I have two bachelors, one in telecommunication, electric engineering, and I have also a bachelor in business. So to verify my bachelor, my business bachelor, it took some time because of all this crisis in Afghanistan. So nothing is there. No one is going to verify anything. Like Shaista graduated from political science, and she's struggling now to get her bachelor out of the university. There's no one, there's no record. Like there's a lot of thing going on my community in these days after this crisis. So, but overall, again, Chris, thank you so much, man, for all those help. All those help. I know you are man of your word. I think I know you since 2 years now, more than that actually. And also Chris is the one, Kristi, that during the evacuation of my family from Afghanistan, that he knows how that was hard for me because if my family was left behind there, so none of them will be alive till now. So Chris made a big contribute on that as well, and we made it. So all my family joined me here in the United States, and so they are happily settled on their own houses. We help them like uh, they have their own cars, their own apartments, they have their jobs now, they work around. So everything is going well. So thank you so much, Chris. I really appreciate it, man.
Okay.
And I do.
Chris, we'll clip that out so you can tag that on your website and all your social media channels, because that's an incredible endorsement right there. Although I'm sure it's one of many that you have. So we've kind of danced around Amplio Recruiting and what it is, but now let's get into the specifics. So tell everybody formally what it is and what you guys do and what the mission is.
Yeah, thanks for sharing all that, Harris. You set me up well here. So so Amplio Recruiting was formed in 2014. And as I said, it was these conversations with people really expressing their desire to not just have a job, but contribute and learn and grow and develop and be a part of this community and add value to the local economy. And so we looked at several different types of companies, but at the end of the day, we said, if we could start a staffing business, we know nothing about staffing and really nothing about HR, but if we could start a staffing business, there's a chance that we'd be able to employ a large number of people and connect them into all types of work, no matter the background that they're coming from. And so that was kind of the idea back in 2014. And it just started with, there's a lot of companies that need to hire. Back then, it was really difficult to hire in 2014. Difficult is going to be as we sit here in 2022. Right. There were already challenges in finding really good talent. So the companies that we were connected to would say, we can't find good people. The people in our community would say, we can't find good jobs. And so we just said, let's create this company where we can match those two groups together. And we feel like that could be an opportunity for some positive impact on both sides. So we kind of thought maybe this would be sort of a side project, or maybe sort of a passion project type thing. We didn't really know what would happen, but over 8 years now, we've grown into multiple cities across the country. We're serving well over 100 companies. We've placed about 10,000 refugees into full-time employment. And we'll do $20 million in revenue this year. I mean, so we are way beyond what we ever expected. There's still plenty of days where we feel like we don't know what we're doing and we're still trying to figure it out. And there's certainly lots of ups and downs in that journey. But by and large, we've been able to grow and scale a company based on the fact that the individuals we're caring and serving and putting into jobs are incredibly diligent, dependable, hardworking people who want to add value in their local economy and in their community and be an incredible employee for local companies.
Yeah. Well, besides that, obviously, your main focus is finding jobs for refugees and displaced people. What else makes Amplio a special and unique place for companies to look to? I'm going to guess customer service is very high because of your Chick-fil-A background, but I'm sure there are other things too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, so the focus is like every day, heads down.
Yeah.
There are people coming into our office that have experienced what we would say is they've kind of lost dignity on their journey. I mean, you hear it in Harris's story, right? There was a position of influence and authority or some level of pride in the things that they kind of had going on and the efforts towards their career that they were making. And that's interrupted. And then in that, to try to reestablish not just their livelihood and some level of stability, but to reestablish that pursuit after a career and something they could be proud of is really difficult. And I certainly would be it'd be really difficult for me to try to do that in a new place. And we can all, somewhat try to put ourselves in the shoes of those who've had to walk that path. And so they come in our office. We have about 500 people a month walking in our office. Even today, when companies are saying we can't find people, just did a job fair this past week. Harris helped out at, and we had almost 500 people in attendance looking for a job. So there are people even today who are excited, incredible people, looking for the right opportunity. And so, they come in our office, and many times it's with shoulders slumped and kind of head down, trying to, they'll just say, if we were to ask what kind of job are you looking for, they'd say, any job. We have one of our team members who's also from Afghanistan. He says that USA stands for You Start Again. And he tells, especially the Afghans that come in our office, he tells them that. And so there's this I'll take any job. And as much as we recognize there's a desperation in saying that, it's no, tell us what you used to do. What was your background before you came? Let's talk about some of the skills that you acquired and some of the experience you have that might be a really good fit for a company that's, trying to fill certain positions. So about 80% of the roles we fill are in industrial type positions, distribution centers, and positions where fluency in English is not a requirement on day one, where you just need people who are willing to learn and show up on time and put in a good day's work. And then we've got another 20 or so percent of the placements that we make that are more professional, more white collar type opportunities for people like Harris who have more of a background in business or more of a professional environment and who are really great volleyball players. And so we try to balance it out and grateful for companies like Accenture who we can place people in professional positions like Harris is about to step into, and then a lot of other companies, small and medium-sized warehouses, all the way up to the Cisco's, the Advanced Auto Parts, the Albertsons, and that have these large distribution centers across the country.
Yeah, that's incredible. So yes, Harris, let's talk about, we left you off, I think, at professional volleyball and translating and leading supply chains, and then a CEO position that you turned down. So there's a lot to choose from here, but I'm also curious, what were the circumstances, as much as you're comfortable saying, what were the circumstances that brought you to the US?
Actually, I start coming to the US from starting 2011.
Okay.
So I was coming back and forth because in 2011, when I became the operation manager for one of the biggest operations and for the US government in Afghanistan, and when I was the operation manager, I was responsible to manage 374 employees. Definitely, I had my assistants, my individual managers in individual departments, but overall, I was the one who was leading. So in 2011, in 2012, our civilian contracts with the US government has been completed, and the company focused on the US Army projects. So then from 2012 to 2017 till I was there, then we start working for the US Army projects. And I was responsible to, and me and my team were responsible to provide generator power, because I become the country director for the company, like CEO plus country director. And then I was responsible to provide generator power for plus 15 US Army bases in Afghanistan. And how tough that was, and how I managed those projects, because it's a very interesting story. When they offered me this job, and when I was sitting in a table with them, and this because the country director resigned and they were looking for a replacement, and they thought 80% of this project's already controlled by a Harris. Why we are not going to give him this opportunity? And I told him I'm not an electric engineer. I don't have any background of how the gensets work and everything. And they said we will give you advisors. So they give me two local US advisors, engineers, that they will advise me and create the proposals and everything, and prepare me when I attending to enter to a big meetings, like to represent the company. They already trained and prepared me about technical wise. So when they offered to me, so it's funny that the company president, he said, okay, everybody is here. Where is Harris, the guy who works for the company? And and my boss on that said, yeah, he is Harris, sitting beside me. And he said, what? I said, yeah, he is Harris. He said, he's just a kid. Then my boss said, yeah, he is Harris. He said, I was expecting Harris Amani to be like at least 55 plus years old, and he's just a kid. And I said, yeah, sir.
How old were you at this time?
I'm sorry?
How old were you when this happened?
I was 27.
Wow. Okay.
So as again, I say it, if I shave, I will look like a teenager. So I told him that I'm going to run it for 3 months. And if I feel comfortable, I will accept the position. If I don't, bring somebody. Then after 3 months, I saw everything works well, and the team is following the instruction, and the projects are going very well. So I keep doing it. So the reason I moved here, because starting from 2014, I start receiving warning calls, warning emails, warning letters. So that why you are working for the US government. The US government will be here not forever. When they're gone, we will see you. But the shadow gets tighter on that time in mid 2015, that when I receive a call, I didn't answer. And finally, I said, maybe someone is calling me from different numbers. Because when I was in Afghanistan, if somebody's cell phone number is not saved in my mobile, I will never, ever answer. So they said, now we know, where are you? And currently you are driving a blue Land Cruiser. And this is your license plate number, and you're taking a right turn.
Oh my.
That was the time that I was scared, because it was not the first time, because in 2009-ish, I went for a ceremony to open a school and a clinic. And on my way, I was ambushed, and there was 4 bullets in my body. And I was left on the place that people would think that he's gone, he's no more. But I was lucky, I was alive. And so then I applied. Then I applied, contact the U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan, and said all these issues. And they said document everything, and apply for a immigration system, which is called SIV. It's not a refugee. It's called SIV. It's a special immigrant visa, special immigrant visas. So I applied for that. And during this time, I was hiding and switching my location from one for complete 2 years.
Wow.
Just to be safe. But during this time, I was also invited by University of Pennsylvania. and I was selected out of 400 candidates from Afghanistan, and I was selected because I sent my short speech to them, and they selected me, and they invited me to give a speech at University of Pennsylvania. And but the shocking thing was that my topic speech was a little I was not expecting to that. What that was like all about the capital punishment, why it still exists in your country.
Mhm.
So that was very hard, and they gave me 10 minutes, and I was not able to finish it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Um, my
It's like saying
and
solve global peace in 10 minutes. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a big
and
topic to cover.
the chief guest was the speech writer for Obama.
Okay.
So she raised her hand and she extended for as long as I need time. And it took me 35 minutes to finish the speech.
Wow.
And then after in Feb 2017, I receive a call, I receive an email from the US Embassy to drop your passports. I drop my passports and I complete the medical checkup. And then they issue the visas for me and for my wife and 2 kids. And I left Afghanistan and I moved to the US. Moving to the US is just on that time uh, to save my life. When those accidents happened in 2009, I was single. To be honest with you, to being single, you can take a lot of risk. You are not worried about it. But when you get married, especially in a country in Afghanistan, with one head, there is another head connected, your wife. So one head, then when you used to have kids, so 3 lives was connected with me. So that's why I said, if something happens, if I lose my life, what will happen with my kids and wives? So then I decided to move out of Afghanistan and I come to the US. And definitely there is still companies up to now that they are still want me to become their country director and they run their business back in Afghanistan. I said, especially at this time, no. So this transition took a lot out of me, a lot, and it was a very hard transition. As I explained before, that to being a country director for a company and you never drive, you had your own driver and you sit in a very nice office and you have somebody to make your even you to make you a coffee early morning, bring and put it on your table, and you are well respected. Even I will, if I want to go to the president palace anytime I want it, I can go. Anytime I want it, I can go to the president palace because I was registered there. And I was like, through my sport, I was known by people. Through my work, I was known by people. So that's why I was like, I was living a good life and I left everything behind and I start my new career in US. And the day came here at the US because, do you know, when I was the shipping and receiving manager, I was responsible to manage 28 employees.
Mhm.
So there was a lot of thing going on here, like a lot of thing. Like they keep fighting. Oh, he works hard, I work slow. So there's a lot in like the time it came that I was start feeling that I'm managing a third grade class instead of an adult team. So that was a lot. If sometime it happens because I don't want it to lose the job and I want to make some bread to the family, sometime it happens that I take out my white shirt and my tie, put it aside, and wear a short and a safety gloves, and I get into the container and I start unloading the containers by myself.
Yeah.
Even in the weekend, sometime because I sometime if my boss approve, I went by myself and I unload the container by my whole 240 footer container, and I unload it alone by myself.
Wow.
Unload, palletize it, move it to the different location because I needed the money.
Yeah.
I need the fund because I cannot raise my hand to somebody to help me with somebody because as long as I'm a self-built person. No one, I build myself. I build everything for myself. Definitely my parents have a big part of it,
Sure.
but I work hard, very hard. Like sometime even in this company that I'm working now, one day they asked me, and your free time, even we didn't see you in your phone. And I said, why? When I have free time, there is a system, it's called master control. That's you put all your procedures, the SOPs, SOWs, like everything on that. So if you struggling knows about a policy or SOP, you get into that and just find out how you're going to do this job. I never go to the SOP that much for my department because I memorized everything. Anything you ask me, I memorized it.
Yeah.
So, but when I was free, I get into master control and start learning other departments' activities, how their rules are, because definitely at the end of the day, if somebody says that my department is 100% perfect, there's no issues, there's no errors, anything, it means there's tons of errors on that department. Because the first error is that you don't have to think that to make everything perfectly fine based on your department comfort and your department procedures. You have to think your comfort maybe going to affect other department. You have to work as a team,
Right.
to make your department looks better. Definitely, sometime when I see other departments make some changes, I compare it to my work activities. If it's good, yeah, why not? But if it's going to affect me, then definitely I'm going to speak up, and not to speak up like say something from my belly. I come up with a presentation to them. This is how I feel. If we do it, that
Yeah.
will be better for both of us. What do you guys think? Then definitely there will be a revision submission to the SOP. Then we do SOPs. I've done this couple of times. I changed couple of times SOPs with the revisions. So this is
Yeah, you're a great catch for any company. I'm surprised they're not out there just fighting over you, or maybe they will be after this interview. We'll see. But I do want to back up to a couple things that you said and kind of get a little bit more of an explanation on that. The first of all, you mentioned the threats on your life, all of the shooting, all of that. I feel like that is definitely more the perspective that we get here in the Western world. Afghanistan is a scary place. There's lots of bad things that go on, but I know it's also a beautiful, amazing country. So what do you wish that people knew about Afghanistan that we don't hear much of?
Actually, this will be my dream. The people should understand and know better about the good people in Afghanistan. Like 60 years ago, like each year plus 5 million of tourists are visiting Afghanistan. It's a beautiful country, Kristi, beautiful mountains, desert. It's a beautiful country, beautiful. So the bad thing I felt here is sometimes only the media presenting the bad face of the Afghan country.
Yeah.
Because the good news will not be sell that much, but the bad news will sell like that.
Yeah.
Easy to people watch, oh, what's going on in Afghanistan? Somebody from Afghanistan, do that, do this, do that, do this, do that. But okay, like, let's put me here. When I was the operation manager in Afghanistan, I was responsible for plus 300 US citizens in Afghanistan. And I take care of them like my own family. And I have a record during my operation manager, not a single person injured. That much I was on top of everything to save these people from all those threats around. Security is in it. So why they are not putting something me, and why they are not putting somebody like the first award, first bronze medal in Olympics in a country? Why you are not going to show that? Why you are not going to show the beautiful mountains? Why you are not going to show the beautiful river? Why you are not going to show the good hospitality of the Afghan people? Why you are not going to see their beautiful culture, their clothes, their food, their way they live, their hobbies, their horse, like buskashi, that they are horse riding, and and there's a lot of good things. Actually, there's a positive things, Kristi, that they have to focus on instead of the bad thing. One thing I'm going to say here is, one bad person or two, let's see, 5 million bad people are in a country, cannot represent the 37 million people population in Afghanistan.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's why this is my dream, that my country should be known as a country, people with good hospitality, with clean heart, with welcoming other people to come to visit their countries, to their country. So this is my dream.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, sometimes we only we see the bad faces in the media, not the good faces.
Right.
Not at all.
Well, hopefully we'll change some hearts and minds through this conversation and people catching it later on as well. And Chris, I want to bring you back in real quick. I know we've kind of thrown around the terms refugee a few times, immigrant, all of those. There are misconceptions about immigrants and refugees and the differences and kind of the not only the perspectives and the circumstances, but the processes that they go through. So you want to speak a little bit to that?
Sure. Yeah, I think that so the term refugee maybe can get misused or misinterpreted. And so a good way to think about it is that kind of the highest level term that's used is immigrant. And under the term immigrant, there are lots of different categories. We immediately think of documented or undocumented. Mm-hmm. Some people would use the words legal, legal or illegal. Mm-hmm. And then, you think about those who have come to the U.S. in different ways, those who are seeking asylum, those who come on various types of visas that exist, if it's a tourist visa or a student visa. So there's all these different categories under the term immigrant, and refugee is one of those categories. And so for those who have been resettled through the United Nations, through UNHCR, they are brought to the U.S. They go through extensive screening from Homeland Security. The director of the FBI says it's harder to come into the country as a refugee than it is to join the FBI. And so they go through this extensive screening. And then they are considered a refugee. They are giving documentation to be able to do all the things that we would do as U.S. citizens, except for being able to vote. And so they're authorized to work. They're able to get a driver's license, and they're able to get a job, to pay taxes, to have a bank account. And then after 5 years, they can apply for citizenship. And then in getting their citizenship would be able to vote as well. So that's the standard kind of typical process that a refugee goes through as they come into the U.S. They would be resettled in various communities across the country in association with refugee resettlement agencies that exist across the country. And those are nonprofits whose job it is to meet people at the airport and help them find housing, get kids enrolled in school, kind of help show them bus routes and kind of get them acclimated. And we work in partnership with all of those agencies across the country to help with job placement. So it's a really fairly organized process, but there's a lot that goes into it. And certainly right now, as we've had waves of Afghans and now Ukrainians coming into the country, the process has been somewhat chaotic. There's a lot of backlogs in the system, and the system is very much overwhelmed.
Sure.
And so that's where employers can step up and have an even greater role to play in supporting the process, and certainly for those employers who are in desperate need of dependable employees.
Yes. Well, speaking of, and of course, one of the reasons we have you on here is not just to hear both of your incredible stories, but we want more people to be hired. We know there are needs out there, especially in the world of supply chain and logistics. We hear that every day. Everybody has a basic education in supply chain and logistics after the pandemic. And Chris, you literally wrote the book on hiring refugees called Refugee Workforce, the Economic Case for Hiring the Displaced. So speaking to hiring managers, CEOs, founders, C-suite people, what do you wish more people knew about hiring refugees, and what is that economic case?
Yeah, thanks for asking that question. I think that a lot of companies, and these are themes we've already kind of touched on even throughout the podcast, I think that a lot of companies, there's this thought that if we can't just go grab people in the same way that we've always recruited people and push them through the same process of onboarding and getting them into our company that we've always done, then it's not really worth the additional effort that it might take to engage, people that don't necessarily, at least from the really in here. So that's what we really recognize is, wow, these people are incredible. I mean, you hear Harris's story, and Harris is really unique. And yet at the same time, there are people just like him that have incredible backgrounds and stories and experience. Mm-hmm. And they are somewhat sidelined from being able to participate in the workforce, because it really is all about getting that opportunity. And it's all about your social network and who you know and getting that introduction. And a lot of times they don't have the ability to pull on those same opportunities that we might have from growing up in this country and kind of knowing how to work the system. And so we would just say on the front end, if you recognize that you might change and tweak a little bit of your processes on the front end to engage this specific group of people or other marginalized groups of people that exist just outside the typical kind of workforce that we're looking for, you will create a really strong pipeline of candidates who are looking for work and see your company as a viable option for them. And so the economic case is recognizing, hey, we're all struggling to find people. And that hits the bottom line really hard in ways that we never expect it would. There's so many companies out there that thought their most difficult challenge in being successful as a business would be about finding the right, getting the right sales contract signed, or getting the patent, or establishing a really great supply chain. And, there's all these factors that we thought were going to be the hardest. And in 2022, we're saying the hardest thing is I just can't get people to show up and do the work that I need them to do. And we're just keep increasing our pay rates thinking that's a problem, and it's not. Mm-hmm. And so if you're willing to change a little bit of those incoming practices of recruiting and retaining talent, specifically from the refugee workforce, you will see a huge benefit in the long run of loyalty and dependability. One of the biggest stats that we love talking about is that the industry standard right now for people who are hired on at any company mm-hmm. is right around 30%. So 10 people start and 3 people are left after just 1 month on the job. And you guys would say, hey, it's much worse at our company. We can't even find 10 people, much less, see 10 people after a month. But we get to see numbers right at 80%. So 8 out of 10 are still there after 3 months, 7 out of 10 still working, still adding value after 1 year, 70%. And so that just speaks to the loyalty and the commitment that comes from this community when they're given and they experience that loyalty and commitment from you as the employer. So out, every day, and it's powerful to watch. But we also hear companies say, "Oh, we tried that and it didn't work," and so we just say, "No. If we get involved and we help you and identify the right people and help you move through that process with them for the first few months of employment, it can absolutely flip the numbers in your favor and have an incredible impact on this community that desperately is seeking stability."
Yeah. For sure. Thank you. And Harris, what about you? What do you wish more people knew about hiring refugees and displaced people?
I will recommend one thing for the people, especially with have more experience, but sometimes the mentality of the people with good education, when is getting to the US. So definitely they will be connected with one of their friends or families or anyone who they knows here. Is that the first thing, which was based on my own experience, that they were saying, your education, your experience back home is nothing in the US. You have to have a degree from the US if you want to get an office work, or you have to study here again and get a degree and get to use with the rules and with law, and even then you get a good job here, which is I say it's a totally misunderstanding for the people, because I can say I'm a good experience. I didn't listen to the people, I didn't listen to the community, what they are saying. As I said, I keep fighting and I keep trying till I get the job. Like I tried for 3 months and I keep applying for the job, because sometimes they said if you are going to apply through the online applications, Indeed, Zip Recruiters, or LinkedIn or anything, they said the only thing we received, it's emails. We didn't receive any interview call or anything. But when I was looking for a job, you won't believe me, every night at night till 4 a.m. I was applying plus 100 jobs till I find out this pharmaceutical
Mhm.
position. But they have to get out of their comfort zone.
Right.
This is what I'm going. If you are going to stay in your comfort zone and you are not going to try and open your eyes to the world and keep knocking to the door, to the doors, to the doors, then you can't do anything. Definitely, the recruiters, like a good recruiter like Chris and his team, they will help them as much they can, but they also need to participate and speak up and start knocking the doors and make more networking all around. Networking all around the world. If you have a good networking system, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. You will be not struggling for the job. For example, right now, like, I was going to switch the job from this job, and I have a network which is Chris. So I contacted Chris. Hey Chris, I'm looking for a new job, and he said, "Do you want to send me your resume?" And even one day I missed the interviewer call, and Chris called, sent me an email, and he said, "Harris, these people trying to reach you. This is their number. Can you please call them back?" And I called him, and that relationship starts from there.
Mhm.
So definitely they have to, definitely they should you should listen to people all around what they are saying, but pick up the positives.
Yeah.
Positive. Come out from your comfort zone. Do not stop trying. If you're currently working for a job we are not feeling comfortable with it, and you need that money to bring food to the family, keep doing it. And at the same time, if you put 2 hours and aside, and instead of go to the Facebook or just chit chat around, that 2 hours time or 1 hour's time, if you give it for yourself to look around for more opportunities, I'm more than 100%. There will be someone that who needs the people same like you,
Yeah.
and you will get it. But all the communities, not from my community, Afghans, Syrians, or who do refugees are here in the country, they just need a step. They
Mhm.
just need a chance to get in, and a little bit training,
Yeah.
and they will adopt, and they will be those type of people that they will not switch and leave you at the middle of nowhere for a couple of dollars. They will think they will think, oh, they helped me on my bad time, and why I should leave them at the middle of nowhere and they don't have an employee, or misuse the company. They will not do like that. My first job, when I was a shipping and receiving manager, I was working for them from 5 to 8 till I trained my replacement for free,
Yeah.
because they helped me
Yeah.
when I need it. So I just give back. I give it back to them.
Yeah.
So this is my experience, and this is what I'm going to say to everybody. Just please get out of your comfort zone, and keep trying.
Yeah.
Keep trying. The good job, the good opportunity is not coming back of your door to knock. hey, I need you, come. How? No, you have to go and look for it. Like, and a good example is here is that recently a family moved to Atlanta. And he said, I was working for this company, and right now I lost the contact with all my supervisors and everybody. And I was a well-known person in this company. I said, do you know the company name? And he said, yes. I put the company name, and I find that company is in South Carolina. I sit with him in the car, and he said, no, I'm not going. It will be not looks good. I said, look, trust me, let's go. So I sit with him in my car. I drove with him to the North Carolina. I went to that office. I knocked the door, and I introduced him with them. And when they get into their system, they find it out. They said, oh, wow, you worked for us for almost 11 years in Afghanistan. I said, yes, he worked for you guys, but he was afraid and scared how to reach you guys. At the same day, they arranged a meeting with him, and they said everything with him. And I was with him for 2 days in Carolina. And 2 days they give them a job, and he moved to North Carolina. Now he have a good job. So this is the people have to think. Like the companies will not follow up. Okay, after this crisis, where is Harris? They don't care. They don't know where are Harris till I'm going to contact them. So reach out to them, reach out to your people, reach out to the communities. This is how you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
I said before, they will not come and knock your door. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love it. And that's a great segue into, this has been an incredible conversation. I've enjoyed talking with you both so much. And let's get into those action steps, which is kind of where you started leading us anyway, Harris. So Chris, let's get more people hired. How do people connect with you and take advantage of Amplio Recruiting? And do you have any pressing needs we should know about as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we love connecting with companies and just helping them walk through the process of if it makes sense for them based on their location, based on the jobs that they have available, and all the other surrounding factors, if it's a good fit for them to be focused on hiring from the refugee workforce. And so we love walking through that process, even if it doesn't mean direct benefit to us, helping a company navigate whether that's an appropriate path for them. Is something we're doing all day, every day. Our specific approach is providing temp to perm staffing. So typically people are on our payroll for usually about 6 months, 4 to 6 months. And we typically start at a 40% markup. So those that are used to temp to perm staffing providers will know exactly what that means. So we look and smell and act a lot like any other staffing company. It's just that our focus is specifically providing talent from the refugee workforce. So we invoice every week. We're covering all the payroll and all the workers' comp and all of that. And then they would go permanent, with you. And then we have a direct placement option as well, that people, especially if they're stepping into a more professional work environment, where they would be your employer from day one, and we would charge a percentage of the expected annual income. So, so happy to connect with anyone who's listening, and just walk through the process of figuring out what might be the best path for them as they consider engaging refugees in their community. Email is probably the best way to connect with me. So that's just my first name, Chris, at ampliorecruiting.com. So that's AMPLIO recruiting.com, and I'm sure it'll be listed on any follow-up documents as well. So feel free just to reach out, and we can plan a short discussion just to see how we can help and get you better connected to this community that can have a great impact.
Yeah, and we three are coming to everybody today from the beautiful Atlanta, Georgia area, but you guys work nationwide, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, we're all over the country. We've got some target locations and areas that we have a strong portfolio of clients that we already serve, but we can operate anywhere in the U.S. or in Canada as we have the opportunity to connect with our local refugee community. So we're grateful to be really central to this ecosystem around the country, and we call up guys like Harris and say, who do you know in this town, and he gets us connected, and so we're grateful to have a lot of friends from all over the world that we never expected would be our friends, much less our employees, and just grateful we get to do what we do and come alongside some great companies in the process.
Yeah, for sure. And Harris, we'll give you the last word. You've already kind of given some good advice about getting outside your comfort zone, but what are a couple actions, and that may be one of them, that people in their own lives outside of just recruiting or hiring or work, but talking about even just our personal lives and things like that? What are some action steps that people can take to learn more about the refugee population and support displaced individuals?
The one thing I will advise to all the immigrants, as soon as you can, adopt the culture where you live. And the second thing, the second thing I will say that if you think what you are or what you were in the past, how successful you are in your country, if you keep thinking about that, you will not grow up in this country. You have to start from scratch again and build yourself. If your mentalities still set what you are in your country, and you keep saying that the stories, who you are, oh, I done this, I done that, I was well known, I was popular, these things, yeah, definitely that will be a history, but you have to stop thinking about that and start a new life here. If you keep thinking about what you were in the past and how good life you had in the past back home, they should think about this. Yeah, definitely you have a good life there, but your life was not safe.
Yeah.
When you are going out of home, you never know that you are coming back alive or no. When your kids are going to school, you don't know if they are going to come back alive or no. So this is the good opportunities here, the positive things here that you have to think. At the end of the day, you have to think about your family as well. Because what we do in this world, for what I'm making money, for what I'm working hard, to present a good kid, a good kid and a good person to this world. So that's why you have to, again, I'm saying that, come out your comfort zone and do not think what you are. Think what you're going to be in this country. Set up a new goal for you. It doesn't mean that you can reach your goal in couple of months. If it's going to take you years, still you should have a goal, what you want to be and how you're going to reach it, and how you're going to KBI, like how you're going to KBI it, how you're going to manage it, and how you put your goals, how you're going to achieve your goals, which step you already took to achieve your goals, what next step you're going to be, your step will be to achieve your goals. So these are the stuff. I presented this through a supply chain and logistics perspective, because this is how I can explain it to them. Like, the good thing here is in the US is the most of these companies let the employees to set their goal, and then it's up to the employees how they will process and through reaching that goal. If you reach your goal, definitely you will get your full bonus, but if you in a half of it, you will give half bonus. So it's a good experience. Actually, even if you can use that in your real life, you will be a successful person here.
Yeah. And what about people like me and Chris and just regular Americans? How can we learn more and embrace more people who come from other areas? Especially Chris and I, like we talked about, grew up in other places that this wasn't an option. We didn't know people from lots of different places. And now with our global world, we have that ability. So, what would you encourage us to do?
I will, and especially encourage. It's not because you people are already the best people I know. You are successful, and I thank Chris to give me this opportunity to meet with you guys and also openly speak up what I feel about it. But one thing I will say, that especially when a doctor is coming from our country through our resettlement agencies, and they are contacting to the employment specialist that he needs a job. If he is a doctor, definitely he can be like a work in a medical store.
Yeah.
But before they talk to them and know more about them, they offer them to work in a chicken factory. And they lost their dignity right there.
Yeah.
Right there. And they lose the hope, and they lost everything there. The good thing would be here is to talk, speak up with. You cannot understand or know everything about a person, what is written on their resume. I mean, on their CV or resume. If we get to use with it, to talk with them more and ask them, like me personally, when I'm sitting in an interview, to be honest with you, when I'm taking some interviews, 30% of my question is from job related questions. 70% of my indirectly, diplomatically, I put some questions in front of the candidates that I don't see the candidate what he can do now. I see if this candidate is going to adopt more challenges in the future or not. How his mentality is set, how he knows about the culture here, how he knows how the law works here, everything. If I feel that opportunity on one person, if he has the experience of 30%, and I see the growth of 50%, that he can adopt 50% with a little bit training, I will give him the opportunity. And instead of that, I say I give him a number, okay, out of 100, he is on 45, and the average number accepted is like 65 or 70. No. Before I said that, all those people like me, they need an opportunity.
Yeah.
An opportunity. Just give them an opportunity, and give them 3 months time and see how can he adopt it. No one come to this world to learn. Who, like for me, I was like a kid when I joined. I learned everything from like I learned a lot of things. Like today I learned a lot from you. I learned from Chris. I adopt a lot of things from you guys today. So this is what especially when I'm sitting on the table, when I'm taking interviews, this is how I do. Everybody have their own rules, procedures, and definitely the company also have their own expectations as well. But this is what I feel, if the companies just do a little turnover to left and right side, they will get the best employees they ever think from the refugee communities.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I would sum it up by saying more conversations lead to less assumptions, which is what we all need to do. Less of assuming about each other, or a different culture, a different community, anything like that, and just open up more conversations like this one, which has been incredible. Thank you both for your time, for your experience, for your expertise. I'm excited to get this out in the world and have more people learn about the both of you and about Amplio. And the supply chain world needs lots of good people working in it, especially right now. So let's get more of those people hired. And thank you again, both, for your time. This is another amazing episode of Logistics with Purpose, and we hope you'll join us next time. And thank you, Harris. Thank you, Chris, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristi.
Thank you.